Imagine this. One day you wake up, look around, and realize that for your entire life, you've been told a lie so big, so insidious that it shaped every decision you ever made about women, about relationships, about your purpose as a man. You were told that if you just worked hard enough, provided enough, protected enough, loved enough, you would finally be enough for her. And then one day the mask slips, the truth pours out across social media in real time, and millions of men all reach the exact same conclusion at the exact same moment. We were never partners to them, we were always servants. And once that clicks in your head, once that switch flips, there is no going back, ever. Stay with me until the very end because I'm going to show you exactly how we got here, why the fallout is only just beginning, and why the men who have already walked away are never, ever returning to the plantation. If you want more raw, no filter, angry guy content like this, smash that like button right now. Share this video with every man you know who needs to hear it, and subscribe with notifications on so you never miss a drop. And listen, if you're serious about protecting everything you've worked for in this collapsing economy, and you actually want to learn how to buy, sell, trade, and grow your wealth the right way in crypto before the next leg down hits, go click the link in the description and join Angry's Crypto Academy today. Thousands of men are already in there stacking quietly while the world burns. And if you're enjoying these videos and you want to throw some fuel in the tank, you can buy me a Red Bull with the link down below. Every can keeps the rage engine running. Appreciate every single one of you that does it. Let's get into this. Millions of men have quietly opened their eyes over the last couple of years and come to a realization that is shaking the very foundation of Western society. That realization is simple, brutal, and final. Women in the modern West have never truly seen men as partners. They have always seen us as utility, as servants, as disposable tools whose only value comes from what we can provide, what we can pay, and how much punishment we're willing to take while smiling and calling it love. And the proof of this truth is now screaming from every corner of the internet. Open TikTok on any given day, and you will see them. Grown women, mascara running down their faces, voice cracking, staring into the camera, openly weeping that they can't do it anymore. They can't keep up the boss babe fantasy. They can't afford rent. They can't afford groceries. Inflation is crushing them. And worst of all, from their perspective, men have stopped approaching them. Men have stopped sliding into their DMs. Men have stopped asking them out. Men have stopped offering to pay for dinner, for trips, for nails, for anything. And in the middle of these tear soaked confessions, they all ask the same haunting question: where have all the good men gone? And the irony is so thick you can spread it on toast, because these are the exact same women who, not even 2 years ago, were making videos bragging that they don't need a man, that the world would be better without men, that men are trash, that men are toxic, that men should just stay in their lane and shut up. They danced on camera with captions like, "The future is female," and "Men are obsolete," and "I make my own money. I don't need anything from a man." They told men to their faces, sometimes literally screaming it in the street: "I don't need you. We don't need you. Go away." So men listened. We actually listened. For the first time in modern history, millions of men took women at their word, and we walked away quietly, calmly, permanently. We stopped approaching. We stopped dating. We stopped simping. We stopped paying. We stopped caring. And now these same women are standing in the wreckage of the world they demanded, looking around in genuine shock, wondering why the human ATMs stopped dispensing cash. You see, men were sold a fairy tale. We were told that if we provided and protected, if we gave our time, our money, our attention, our very lives, that it would be returned with love, loyalty, respect, and partnership. We were told that servitude was love, that being a good man meant being a useful man, that putting her needs above our own was noble, that paying for everything, fixing everything, carrying everything was the pathway to a happy life together. And for decades, we believed it. We took the second jobs. We worked the dangerous careers. We died in wars. We built the houses. We paid the bills. We smiled while we were bled dry because we thought that was what love looked like. But it wasn't love, it was extraction. It was a transaction disguised as romance. And the moment enough men saw the transaction for what it was, the entire game collapsed. Women traded real relationships with real men for the illusion of independence backed by the unlimited credit card of the state. As long as big daddy government could print money, borrow money, and redistribute it through welfare programs, student loan forgiveness, subsidized housing, and a thousand other transfer mechanisms, women could pretend they didn't need men. They could live the strong, independent lifestyle while quietly being subsidized by male taxpayers and the labor of men they would never even look at, let alone thank. But the money printer has started to stutter. Inflation has exploded. The national debt is unpayable. The promises are coming due. And suddenly, Plan A, living off the state, is evaporating in real time. So these women pivot immediately to Plan B, which has always been men, except Plan B is no longer available because the men woke up, the men walked away, the men are done. And now we watch in real time as women discover what life actually feels like when men stop serving. They can't afford their rent. They can't afford food. They can't get dates. They can't get attention. They can't get anything for free anymore. And the panic is setting in. The tears are flowing. The begging has begun. Please come back. Please pay for my dinner again. Please Venmo me $200 again. Please be my emotional tampon again. Please, please, please. But the answer from millions of men is a calm, unified, and permanent no. We are not coming back ever. You see, something profound happened when men finally accepted the truth, when we stopped lying to ourselves, when we admitted that we were never loved, only used. Something inside us healed. The anger turned into clarity, the pain turned into peace. And we realized that being alone is not the same as being lonely, that solitude is not punishment, that peace is priceless, that keeping our time, our money, our energy, and our sanity is the greatest luxury we have ever known. Women kept pushing. For decades, they pushed. They pushed with feminism. They pushed with men are trash rhetoric. They pushed with divorce laws that reward breaking families. They pushed with false accusations used as weapons. They pushed with social media shaming campaigns. They pushed with paternity fraud. They pushed with believe all women while knowing many were lying. They pushed and pushed and pushed until the pendulum didn't just swing back, it broke clean off the clock. And now here we are. Men are thriving in ways most people can't even comprehend yet because men are natural minimalists. We don't need much to be happy. A safe place to sleep, good food, a gym, a few close brothers, a mission, and peace. That's it. That's the formula. So when men remove women from the equation, when we stop paying for their lifestyles, stop chasing them, stop trying to impress them, stop allowing them to drain us, our lives actually become luxurious overnight. Our bank accounts grow, our stress disappears, our sleep improves, our testosterone rises, our purpose sharpens, our peace deepens. Women, on the other hand, are discovering that independence is extremely expensive when nobody is forced to subsidize it anymore. And the best part, we're not angry anymore. The anger was the alarm clock. Once we woke up, the anger served its purpose. Now it's just calm observation. We watch the TikTok tears the same way you watch a nature documentary. Interesting, predictable, a little sad maybe, but ultimately irrelevant to our day to day lives because all roads now lead to MWA, men walking away. We walked away from dating apps that treat men like criminals. We walked away from social media filled with entitled delusion. We walked away from jobs that demand we apologize for existing. We walked away from a society that punishes masculinity while pretending to celebrate it. We walked away from relationships where the only acceptable role for a man is servant, wallet, and punching bag. And in walking away, we found ourselves. We found peace. We found strength. We found joy that no woman can ever take from us. And that, my brothers, is the red pill that keeps on giving, the gift that compounds daily, the freedom that can never be negotiated away. Hey guys, in a world pushing you to own nothing and be happy, crypto is your key to survival. Join Angry's Crypto Academy to master buying, selling, and trading crypto. Make huge profits and safeguard your wealth. Plus, discover the one crypto virtually no one is talking about, poised to create new millionaires in the upcoming bull run. The link is in the description of the video below. Go check it out now. Let me paint you a picture that is happening right now in every major cities all across the West. Friday night used to mean something. Bars packed, restaurants booked solid, clubs overflowing, men dressed sharp, wallets open, competing for attention, competing for validation, competing to be the one who got chosen. You couldn't walk down a main street without seeing groups of guys orbiting tables of women who were sipping drinks they didn't pay for, eating meals they didn't pay for, laughing at jokes they didn't find funny, all while scrolling their phones looking for the next better option. That was the ritual every single weekend for decades. Men showed up, performed, paid, and prayed they would be granted access to affection that was never truly theirs to begin with. Now walk those same streets on a Friday night in 2025. The difference is night and day. Half the tables are empty. The bars are running happy hour prices just to get bodies in the door. The clubs that used to have lines around the block are begging people to come in with free entry and 2-for-1 deals. And the few women who do show up sit in small circles, phones in hand, checking the door every 5 minutes, wondering why nobody is approaching them anymore. They post stories with captions like "date night with my girls, living my best life," while secretly hoping some man will see it and rescue them from the boredom they created for themselves. The venues are hurting so bad that some are literally paying influencers to show up just to make the place look alive. Think about that. Businesses that used to print money off male thirst are now paying women to sit there and look pretty because the men stopped coming. The economic ripple effect is just beginning, and it is glorious to watch in real time because men figured out that the juice was never worth the squeeze. We did the math. We looked at the ROI of modern dating and realized it was the worst investment in human history. Spend thousands of dollars, hundreds of hours, endless emotional energy for what exactly? The privilege of being tolerated until a better option messages her at 1 a.m.? The honor of paying her bills while she tells you you're controlling if you ask where the money went? The opportunity to be called toxic the moment you set a single boundary? No sane man signs up for that contract once he reads the fine print. So we stopped signing. And when millions of men stop signing at the same time, entire industries start to collapse. Dating apps are laying off staff left and right because men are deleting the apps faster than they can run promotions. Restaurants in big cities are closing their doors because the girls' night out crowd can't afford $22 cocktails when nobody is buying them anymore. Nail salons are running 70% off deals because the weekly appointments dried up. OnlyFans creators who used to make six figures a year from lonely men are now begging for $5 tips and getting ignored. The parasite economy that was built on male thirst is in free fall, and there is no parachute. Women are feeling it the hardest because they never built real survival skills. They were told from childhood that their value was in their beauty and their presence, that men would always provide, that the world owed them simply for existing. They were sold the lie that being the table was enough, that just showing up was labor, that breathing in the vicinity of a man was a full time job worthy of full time compensation. And an entire generation believed it. They outsourced their security, their provision, their protection, everything to men they claim to hate while calling it empowerment. Now the bill is due and the card is declined. I want you to really let this next part sink in. For 70 plus years, men have been the silent infrastructure of female comfort. We took the dangerous jobs so women could have safe ones. We paid the majority of taxes so women could have government programs. We died in wars so women could vote without being drafted. We worked 60-hour weeks so women could work part time and still call themselves independent. We built the houses, fixed the cars, carried the groceries, killed the spiders, changed the tires in the rain, stood between women and every harsh reality of life, and we did it without complaint because we were told that was how you prove love. And in return, we got accused of privilege. We got told our masculinity was toxic. We got told to sit down, shut up, and pay up. We got dragged ourselves home exhausted every night to women who greeted us with criticism and contempt, who spent the money we earned on things we never enjoyed, who threatened to take our children and half our income the moment we showed the slightest backbone. And still we stayed because we were raised to believe that a real man never walks away, that endurance was virtue, that suffering was noble, that if we just tried harder, loved harder, earned more, complained less, she would finally see our value and reward us with peace. But peace never came. Only more demands, more criticism, more extraction, and more chaos. Until one day, the collective light bulb went on for millions of us at once. We looked around and realized we were living on a plantation we didn't even know we were on. And the moment that realization hit, the chains fell off, not because someone unlocked them, because we finally saw they were made of paper the whole time. Now men are keeping their money. Men are keeping their time. Men are keeping their peace. Men are sleeping 8 hours a night. Men are hitting the gym. Men are starting businesses. Men are traveling. Men are reading. Men are fishing. Men are laughing with their brothers around campfires. Men are living lives so full and rich that women cannot even comprehend it because female happiness has always been measured by how much attention and resources she can extract from others, while male happiness is measured by how much freedom and peace we can protect for ourselves. And the gap is widening every single day. You see it in the data. Marriage rates have collapsed to historic lows. Birth rates are in free fall. Home ownership for single men under 40 is actually rising while single women are being locked out of the market. Credit card debt for women is exploding while men are paying off debt and stacking cash. Gym memberships for men are at all-time highs. Therapy appointments for women are booked out months in advance. The great divergence is here. Men are ascending and women are descending. And there is no policy, no propaganda campaign, no amount of crying on TikTok that can reverse it. Because you cannot negotiate with a man who has already found peace on the other side of servitude. You cannot shame a man who no longer seeks your validation. You cannot guilt a man who has accepted that being alone is infinitely better than being used. The game is over, the score is final, and men won by refusing to play. I need you to understand how deep this shift goes. This is not just about dating. This is not just about who pays for dinner. This is about the entire social contract between men and women being torn up and burned in real time. Every institution that relied on male sacrifice is now wobbling. Universities that became female supremacy factories are facing enrollment collapse because men are opting out of worthless degrees. The military can't meet recruitment goals because men are no longer willing to die for a society that hates them. Trades are booming because men are choosing six-figure blue-collar careers over soul-crushing corporate jobs that require them to attend diversity seminars where they're told they're the problem. Everywhere you look, men are quietly rebuilding their lives that revolve around their own happiness for the first time in history. And the beauty of it is how simple it is. Remove the parasite and the host thrives. That's not theory. That's biology. That's economics. That's observable reality playing out on a civilizational scale. Meanwhile, women are making video after video with the same script. I have my own money, my own car, my own place. I'm educated. I'm a boss babe. Why can't I find a good man? And the answer is staring them in the face, but they refuse to see it. Because the truth is brutal. You priced yourself out of the very market you claim to despise. You told men they were worthless unless they made six figures, were 6 feet tall, had six-pack abs, and were willing to worship the ground you walked on while you gave them nothing in return but attitude and demands. And when enough men finally said, okay, we'll pass, you discovered that your degrees, your careers, your independent slogans don't keep you warm at night and don't pay the rent when the subsidies dry up. The era of the subsidized woman is ending. The era of the self sufficient man has begun, and nothing can stop it now. Not shame, not laws, not tears, not threats, not even the full power of the state, because the state needs male compliance to function, and that compliance has been withdrawn. This is what actual power looks like, and not screaming in the streets, not posting hashtags, not demanding others change. Actual power is millions of men quietly choosing themselves and watching the entire system that exploited them begin to eat itself alive. That is the most masculine revolution in history, and we're living through it right now. All right, let me take you back to 2015 for a second so you can feel how fast and how complete the reversal has been. Back then, the script was still working perfectly. A man would meet a woman, take her to dinner, pay the $200 tab without blinking, listen to her talk about her day, her feelings, her drama, her ex, her dreams, all while nodding and saying, "You're so strong, you're so amazing, you deserve the world." Then he would drive her home, maybe get a hug if he was lucky, and go home to send the "Did you make it safe" text that she would leave on read while she texted the guy who never paid for anything but had better jawline genetics. And the next weekend, he would do it all again with a different woman because that's what society told him a real man does. That's how you win. That's how you prove you're not one of the bad ones. Fast forward to 2025, and that same man is in the same city as sitting on his couch on a Saturday night with $200 still in his wallet, steak on the grill that he bought for himself, a cigar in one hand, a glass of bourbon in the other, watching a fight with three of his closest brothers, laughing louder than he has in years, sleeping like a baby when it's over, waking up Sunday with zero drama, zero anxiety, zero texts asking him where he is or why he didn't call, and more money in his account than he knows what to do with. And he's not special. He's average. He's one of millions living the exact same upgrade. That is not hyperbole. That is the new normal for men who walked away. And women feel the absence like a phantom limb. They walk past restaurants they used to get treated at and feel a pang they can't explain. They scroll Instagram and see men on boats, men in the mountains, men in the gym, men in foreign countries, men smiling in ways they never smiled when they were in relationships, and the cognitive dissonance starts eating them alive. Because the story they were sold was that when men lose access to women, they spiral into depression. They become angry. They become dangerous. They become losers living in their mom's basement. But the reality staring back at them is millions of men living better than they ever have, happier than they ever were, richer than they ever were, all without a single woman in their daily lives. That reality is shattering the female worldview in real time. I want you to think about how insane the old deal actually was when you strip away the fairy tale paint. Society told men, give us your youth, your health, your money, your freedom, your mental bandwidth, your very life expectancy, because married men die younger than single men now. And in exchange, we will let you have inconsistent affection, conditional respect, and the constant background fear that one wrong word or one bad month at work can cause her to take your children, your house, your savings, and your reputation, while the culture cheers her on as brave and empowered. And millions of men signed that deal with a smile because they were told it was the only path to meaning. Now imagine trying to sell that deal to men today. Go ahead. Try. Walk up to any man under 30 who has watched his father get destroyed, his uncle get destroyed, his best friend get destroyed, who has seen the videos, read the horror stories, done the math, and tell him, hey, bro, you should get married, have kids, buy a house with a woman who can leave tomorrow and take half. Watch how fast he laughs in your face. Watch how fast he walks away. That sale is dead. That product is off the shelf forever. And women are starting to grasp slowly, painfully, that the leverage they had for decades wasn't beauty, wasn't youth, wasn't even sex. The leverage was male ignorance. The leverage was the blue pill conditioning that made men believe They needed a woman to be complete. The moment that conditioning cracked, the moment men realized that a woman was not a need, not a requirement, not even a particularly good upgrade, but actually a high risk liability, the entire power dynamic flipped overnight. You can see the panic in the articles now, the rise of lonely men, except the men aren't lonely, they're peaceful. The dating crisis, except men aren't in crisis, they're thriving. Why men aren't approaching anymore? Because we woke up. Every headline is written from the assumption that male participation is mandatory, that men not dating is some kind of malfunction that needs to be fixed for the good of society. They still don't understand that men opting out isn't a bug, it's the feature, it's the entire point. Because when men opt out, we win. When men opt in under the old rules, women win and men lose. It really is that simple. And the proof keeps rolling in every single day. Look at Japan's herbivore men, 20 years ahead of the West, living quiet, fulfilled lives, while Japanese women write articles wondering where all the men went. Look at South Korea right now, 4B movement on one side, men completely checking out on the other, birth rate in absolute free fall, government offering bribes for people to date and still failing. Look at China, where men are literally saying, let it rot, and refusing to participate in a system that only punishes them. This is a global phenomenon now. The West is just the latest domino. But here's what makes the West unique: we have the internet. We have real time information flow. We have millions of men watching the same videos, reading the same stories, having the same epiphanies within weeks of each other. The red pill spread here isn't a slow cultural shift over decades. It's an avalanche that happened in about 36 months. And it's still accelerating. That's why you're seeing grown women in their 30s and 40s, women who spent their prime years treating men like walking wallets, now making TikToks that sound like hostage videos. I'm willing to cook. I'm willing to clean. I'll do 50-50. I'll even let you lead. Let you lead. Think about that phrase. They spent years calling male leadership toxic and patriarchal. And now they're begging for it because they finally realize that when men stop leading, women have to carry their own weight. And it turns out the weight is crushing. They never wanted equality. They wanted privilege disguised as equality. And the moment men gave them actual equality, you said, you don't need us. Cool. Handle your business. The entire fantasy collapsed. I need you to feel the weight of this next truth in your bones. Every single thing women claim they wanted: independence, careers, casual relationships, no judgment, freedom, girl boss energy, men gave them. We stepped back, we let them have it all exactly the way they demanded it. And the result has been the most miserable generation of women in recorded history. Depression rates through the roof, anxiety medication at all time highs, therapy waiting lists years long, suicide attempts spiking, and all while they insist through tears that they're happier than ever. That's not strength, that's delusion cracking under pressure. Men, on the other hand, did the opposite of what we were told to do. We rejected the script. We stopped providing without reciprocity. We stopped chasing. We stopped apologizing. We stopped participating. And our mental health numbers are the best they've been in decades. Our savings rates are climbing. Our testosterone levels are rebounding. Our friendships are deeper. Our lives are simpler. Our sleep is better. Our joy is real. The conclusion is unavoidable. The modern female happiness strategy was always parasitic. It only worked when men were forced or tricked into subsidizing it. Remove the subsidy, and the strategy fails instantly. And that failure is what you're watching play out on social media every single day. Women posting, "Where are all the real men?" from inside apartments they can't afford, driving cars they're about to lose, wearing clothes they put on credit, eating food they bought with payment plans, all while claiming they're strong and independent. The cognitive dissonance would be funny if it wasn't so tragic. But here's the part they will never admit out loud. They know. Deep down, in the quiet moments when the camera is off and the likes aren't coming in, they know exactly where the men went. They know exactly why we left. They know exactly what they did. And the terror of that knowledge is why the tears won't stop flowing. Because there is no speech, no policy, no amount of shaming, no new dating strategy that brings men back once we've tasted peace. Once a man has felt what it's like to keep his money, keep his time, keep his sanity, keep his dignity, going back to the old way feels like volunteering to walk back into prison after someone accidentally left the door open. And millions of us have seen the sunlight. We've felt the fresh air. We've tasted the freedom. We're not going back and ever. You want to know the exact moment the switch flipped for most men? It wasn't one big event. It wasn't a single video or a single divorce horror story. It was 1,000 little cuts that finally added up to a severed artery. It was the quiet realization while scrolling late at night that every single narrative we had been fed since kindergarten was a coordinated lie designed to keep us on the plantation. It was watching your buddy, a good man, solid job, loyal to a fault, get accused of something he didn't do, watch his life evaporate in slow motion while everyone clapped for his destroyer and called her brave. And it was seeing the high value woman lists that read like a ransom note: 6 figures minimum, 6 feet tall, six pack, pays all bills, never complains, does all emotional labor, zero expectations in return. It was reading the soft life TikToks where women openly bragged about doing nothing while their boyfriends worked 80 hours a week to fund the softness. It was the paternity fraud stories that never made mainstream news. It was the "are we dating the same guy" groups with 100,000 members trading notes on how to ruin men's lives for sport. It was the judges who openly said, "I don't care if she cheated, she gets half." It was the HR seminars where men were told their natural voices were too aggressive and they needed to speak softer. It was the endless videos of women laughing about using men for free meals, calling it getting my bag. It was the constant message that masculinity itself was the problem, and the only solution was for men to become more like women. It was all of it, all at once, hitting critical mass, until one day, millions of men looked up from their phones and said, almost in unison, "You know what? I'm good. I'm actually good without all of this." And just like that, the spell was broken. Once the spell is broken, it can never be recast. You can't unsee the matrix. You can't unlearn the patterns. You can't go back to paying $300 for the privilege of being told you're a walking red flag because you asked her to split appetizers. You can't unfeel the peace that comes from a quiet apartment, a full bank account, and zero notifications from someone who only texts when she needs something. That peace is addictive. More addictive than any woman could ever be, more addictive than validation, more addictive than sex, more addictive than the fleeting ego boost of being chosen. Because peace is permanent, peace compounds, peace lets you breathe deep for the first time since you were a child. Women never understood that. They mistook male sacrifice for weakness. They thought if they pushed hard enough, men would just absorb it forever. They thought the well of male tolerance was bottomless. They thought provider was our default setting and we would never dare change the channel. And they were wrong. The well had a bottom. We hit it. And instead of begging for scraps, we climbed out, sealed the lid, and walked away whistling. Now, watch what happens when millions of men start treating women the way women have treated men for decades: optional. Suddenly, the panic videos multiply. Suddenly, the "I'll submit" content appears. Suddenly, pastors, influencers, politicians, therapists, everyone is screaming from every rooftop that men need to man up and come back. Suddenly, marriage is being marketed as the solution to female loneliness. Suddenly, traditional values are trendy again, but only when it benefits women. Suddenly, cooking and cleaning are being offered as if they're rare treasures instead of basic adult responsibilities. It's almost performance art at this point. They spent 50 years telling men that cooking, cleaning, emotional labor, and submission were oppressive tools of the patriarchy, and now they're trying to sell those exact same things back to men as revolutionary incentives. Look, I made you a sandwich. Now please pay my mortgage. The rebrand is so transparent, it's painful. But here's the part they still don't get. We don't want the sandwich. We don't want the submission. We don't want the traditional roles. We don't want the 50-50. We don't want the 90-10. We don't want any of it because we already have something infinitely better: total control over our own lives. We have silence when we want silence. We have money when we want money. We have time when we want time. We have brotherhood that doesn't demand we earn it every day. We have goals that don't get sabotaged by drama. We have sleep that isn't interrupted by 3 a.m. arguments about nothing. We have peace that no woman on earth can offer at any price. And once you have that, everything else feels like a downgrade. That's why the comeback campaigns will all fail. That's why the trad wife cosplay will flop. That's why the religious guilt trips won't work. That's why the government incentives won't move the needle. You can't bribe a man who has already bought his own freedom with the only currency that matters, the complete withdrawal of his participation. That the participation trophy has been recalled, the factory is shut down, the workers went home, and they're not coming back for overtime, no matter how much you cry. Let me say that again so it sinks all the way in. Men are not hiding. We're not lost. We're not broken. We're not waiting to be fixed. We're home. We're exactly where we want to be. We're in the gym. We're in the woods. We're on the water. We're in the garage. We're in the office building our empires. We're on planes going places you'll never see. We're laughing louder, lifting heavier, earning more, sleeping deeper, living larger than any generation of men before us. And we're doing it without a single ounce of female input. That is the ultimate flex. Not the cars, not the watches, and not the likes. The ultimate flex is a man who needs nothing from the modern woman and has zero intention of ever needing anything again. That energy is unstoppable. That energy is contagious. That energy is why young boys are growing up watching their fathers, their uncles, their older brothers live like kings without rings, and they're copying the blueprint before they even shave for the first time. That energy is why the birth rate is collapsing and nobody can bribe it back up. That energy is why entire economies that depended on male thirst are shrinking. That energy is the quiet revolution nobody saw coming because they were too busy laughing at men to notice we stopped caring about their laughter. We traded your validation for peace and we got the better end of the deal by a factor of 1,000. And every single day, another man wakes up, looks around, sees the same truth, and joins the exodus. The dam didn't break. The dam was dismantled brick by brick by men who finally realized they didn't need to live downstream anymore. We moved uphill. We built our own cities. We dug our own wells. And we're drinking the cleanest water we've ever tasted. You want to know what the future looks like? It looks like men living the way men were always meant to live. Free, strong, calm, purposeful, surrounded by brothers, unburdened by parasites, unbothered by chaos, unapologetic about our happiness. And it looks like women discovering that the world they demanded comes with a price tag they can't pay alone. It looks like a civilization rebalancing itself the hard way because it refused to do it the easy way when men were still asking nicely. It looks like the end of one era and the beginning of another. And every man who has already walked away is standing on the mountaintop watching the sunset on the old world, cigar lit, bank account growing, soul at rest, smiling the smile of a man who finally understands that the greatest plot twist of his life was realizing he never needed the story everyone told him he couldn't live without. That smile is permanent. That freedom is permanent. That peace is permanent. And no amount of tears, no amount of demands, no amount of please come back videos will ever change it. The men are gone. The men are home. The men are free. And we're just getting warmed up. But I want you to picture something very specific. Picture a man, 35 years old, maybe 40, spent the last 15 years doing everything society told him to do. Got the degree, got the corporate job, got the girlfriend, moved her in, paid for the vacations, paid for the ring, paid for the wedding, paid for the house, paid for the cars, paid for the dogs she just had to have, worked the 60-hour weeks, came home exhausted, still found the energy to listen to her complain about her day while she never once asked about his, absorbed the eye rolls, absorbed the criticism about how he didn't do enough, even though he was doing everything, absorbed the slow drip of disrespect that eventually became a flood, watched his hair thin and his gut grow and his soul shrink while she got weekly massages and girls' trips and new handbags and still told him he wasn't enough. Now picture that same man 2 years after he finally snapped awake. He's back in a small apartment he can afford by himself, no debt except maybe a reasonable truck payment, gym 5 days a week. Body tighter than it was at 25, beard filled in, bank account hitting numbers he never thought possible because nobody is bleeding it dry anymore, passport filling up with stamps from places he always wanted to see, circle of brothers who actually respect him, zero drama, zero anxiety, zero walking on eggshells, zero coming home to a woman who greets him with a list of complaints and a honeydew list longer than his arm. He wakes up on a random Tuesday, sun coming through the window, no alarm clock because he slept 9 hours straight, makes a cup of coffee on a balcony that is his and only his, scrolls his phone, and sees another TikTok of a woman crying about where all the good men went, and he smiles. Not a cruel smile, just a calm, knowing smile, because he knows exactly where the good men went. They went home. They went inside themselves. They went to the gym. They went to the range. They went to the water. They went to the garage to build something. They went to the mountains to breathe. They went to the countries where their dollars stretch and their presence is celebrated instead of criminalized. They went wherever peace lives, and they are never, ever coming back to the chaos. That man is not rare anymore. That man is legion. That man is the new default setting for any male who has seen behind the curtain. And the most beautiful part, he's not angry. The anger burned off a long time ago. It was rocket fuel that got him out of the atmosphere of dysfunction. Once he reached orbit, the anger wasn't needed anymore. Now it's just clarity. Now it's gratitude. Now it's the deepest, quietest joy you have ever felt. The kind that doesn't need to announce itself. The kind that doesn't need likes. The kind that doesn't need a woman's approval to exist. That joy is contraband in a society that spent decades trying to convince men that joy only comes through female validation. That joy is the ultimate rebellion. And it is spreading like wildfire in a drought. Every day another man tastes it. Every day another man deletes the dating apps. Every day another man cancels the expensive date he had planned and takes himself to a steakhouse instead. Every day another man after man after man chooses himself and discovers that choosing himself was the missing piece all along. And the ripple effects just keep growing. Fathers are teaching sons a completely different playbook now. Son, never put a woman's happiness above your own peace. Never let anyone live in your house rent free, especially in your wallet or in your head. Build your body, build your money, build your brotherhood, and never apologize for protecting your peace. That conversation is happening in living rooms, in trucks, on fishing boats, in gyms all over the world right now. Young men are growing up watching the older generation thrive in solitude and copying the blueprint before they ever make the mistakes we did. The pipeline of future simps is being shut off at the source. The next generation of men will look back at 2010 to 2020 the same way we look back at men who fought in trenches with bayonets. Respect for the sacrifice, but zero desire to repeat it. That is how complete the shift is. This is not a phase. This is not a trend. This is not something that will fade when the next crop of 18-year-olds hits the market. This is the new equilibrium. Men have retaken control of the only thing that ever mattered: their time, their energy, their resources, their peace, and their future. Everything else is negotiable, everything else is optional, and women are being forced to negotiate with men who no longer need the deal. That is the single greatest transfer of power in modern history. And it happened silently, without a single shot being fired, without a single protest march, without a single politician's permission. Just millions of men making the same decision at roughly the same time. I choose me. And in choosing themselves, they change the world. So when you see another crying TikTok, another "Where have all the good men gone" article, another pastor on a stage begging men to man up and marry the single mothers in the congregation, another influencer trying to sell you a course on how to get your ex back, another blue pill boomer telling you that you'll die alone if you don't lock down a wife, just smile that same calm smile. They don't understand yet. They still think this is about access to women. They still think this is about sex. They still think this is about loneliness. It never was. This is about freedom. This is about dignity. This is about men finally, after thousands of years, refusing to be the disposable backbone of someone else's comfort. This is about men choosing to live instead of merely exist to serve. This is the moment masculinity remembered what it was always supposed to be: untamed, unapologetic, self directed, calm, strong, free. And once a critical mass of men taste that, there is no containment strategy, no propaganda campaign, no law, no religion, no amount of social pressure that can herd them back into the corral. The cattle have left the pen. The horses have jumped the fence. The wolves have remembered they were never dogs to begin with. And the world will never be the same. So, to every man who is still on the fence, still wondering if peace is really possible, still afraid of what people will say, still clinging to the hope that maybe she'll change, maybe the next one will be different, maybe if you just try harder, listen to the millions of us who have already crossed over. There is nothing on the other side of that fence except more of what you already hate. On this side, there is everything you were promised and never received. All you have to do is walk, one foot in front of the other, close the apps, cancel the dates, keep your money, keep your time, keep your seed, keep your peace. Walk away and never look back, because the moment you do, the moment you take that first real step, you will feel the weight fall off your shoulders like you've been carrying a truck for 20 years and someone finally took it away. You will breathe deeper than you have since you were a child. You will laugh louder than you knew you could. You will sleep like the dead. You will wake up excited for your own life. And you will realize that every single lie they told you about needing a woman to be complete was just a story to keep you in chains. The truth is simpler, cleaner, and 1,000 times more powerful. You were always complete. You were always enough. You always had everything you needed inside you. You just had to stop giving it away to people who never deserved it. So take it back, take it all back, and watch your life become something you never dreamed was possible. Because the second you choose yourself, the universe bends in your direction. Opportunities appear, money flows, health returns, brothers show up, joy explodes, peace settles in like an old friend who never left. And you realize the entire time you were searching for something out there, it was waiting quietly inside you, ready the moment you stop betraying yourself. That is the red pill that keeps on giving. That is the gift that keeps compounding. That is the freedom no one can tax, shame, or regulate away. That is the life waiting for every single man who finally decides he is done serving and ready to live. So live, brother. Live like a man who knows his value is intrinsic. Live like a man who knows his peace is non negotiable. Live like a man who has already won because he stopped playing a game that was rigged from the start. Live like a man who understands that the greatest victory is walking away while the plantation burns behind you and never once feeling the need to look back. Because all roads lead to MWA. All roads lead to peace. All roads lead to brotherhood. All roads lead to the life you were always meant to live. And we're already there, waiting for you, smiling and free, and never, ever going back. Now, I want to hear from you. What did you think about everything we just went through today? Do you agree? Are you already walking? Are you still on the fence? Drop your thoughts in the comments. No filter. Let's talk like men. Hit that like button if this spoke to you. Subscribe if you're not already. Share this with every brother who needs to hear it, because the message only spreads when we carry it. And just remember, all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. Cheers.
Nothing says you care like crypto. Nothing can compare. Nothing says you care like crypto. Oh, nothing can compare to crypto.